Hello, Parsippany. I'd like to thank you for joining me for this year's State of the Township address. My goal in this statement is to provide you with a clear and complete picture of what our township went through in 2020, how your township government is working for you, and the positive changes we've seen over the last few years. Before we begin, I'd like to thank you for taking an interest in your community. An engaged and informed citizenry is the bedrock on which our democracy and American ideals rest. 3 years ago, you elected me to be mayor of this community that we all cherish. But I am just a small part of what makes this township work. Only in partnership with our municipal employees, volunteers, civic and faith leaders, small business owners, and you does this community truly thrive. I don't deliver this address to tick an item off of an annual checklist. Your voice matters, and it's important to me that you have a complete picture of what your Parsippany government is doing for you. 2020 was a year of trials and tribulations. Never before have we experienced an event that so fundamentally altered the way that we live, learn, pray, love, empathize, and overcome. Faced with the deadliest pandemic in over a century, Parsippany residents didn't shy from confronting the challenges of COVID-19. In the last 10 months, I've been amazed by the efforts of so many to ease the suffering of others. In a time when masks weren't even yet widely available for purchase, groups of residents mass-produced homemade masks to slow the spread. In a time when online shopping became more prevalent than ever, you recognize the need to continue patronizing our small businesses, helping to keep the mom and pop shops we all love afloat. In a time when isolation and loneliness spread as quickly as severely as the pandemic, you organize online and socially distant events to keep the ties that bind our community strong. When the world gave us the greatest collective challenge many of us have ever experienced, you declared in your actions that Parsippany is not just a collection of neighborhoods or a commuter town. We are a community that cares for others, provides for others, and cannot rest while others are suffering. Throughout the pandemic, your government took decisive action to provide up-to-date and accurate information, maintain municipal services, keep our local economy strong, and provide for those in need. As COVID-19 began to spread throughout the country, my office began providing daily videos to keep you up to date with health information, township operations, and evolving state mandates. Since March, I've given well over 100 video updates across multiple accessible programs with these goals in mind: to keep you informed, engaged, and most importantly, safe. In addition, we have revamped the township's public information function with small, targeted investments into digital infrastructure and personal training. These investments are providing you with an increased quantity and quality of clear, up-to-date information on the township's website, social media pages, and official township email blasts, to which I recommend you subscribe if you haven't already done so. One of the most immediate issues we face was the potential for rapid spread of COVID-19 throughout township facilities, potentially threatening the health of our employees and our ability to deliver the services that you rely on. But we didn't sit idly by and wait for problems to occur. We made extensive purchases of personal protective equipment and sanitation supplies before any state or federal reimbursement was guaranteed. We implemented staggered shifts for our essential services so that if the virus spread amongst one unit, we would have the ability to continue picking up the trash, plowing the streets, and providing high-quality police and medical services. We made online interaction with local government more accessible to prevent extra trips to township offices. There was no playbook for a global pandemic, no guaranteed path to seeing this crisis through with our services intact, but along with our neighboring communities and state partners, we took things step by step and continued to make Parsippany's government work for you. On top of damage done to our government by the pandemic, we found our local economy struggling to stay above water. Our local restaurant industry has particularly suffered this past year. We didn't sit idly by waiting for businesses to fail. As soon as the state allowed for outdoor dining, we worked with our local restaurants to issue permits without delay. Our building department worked around the clock, as they still do, to walk businesses through the process, ensure that they won't run into any legal issues, and get them ready to serve customers as quickly and as safely as possible. We also waived several types of fees for small businesses to reduce the cost of doing business. In smoothing the runway for our local economy to get back to business, we have avoided the broad economic disaster COVID-19 could have wrought. We also worked with nonprofits throughout our region to help Parsippany residents in need. The partnership we've built between the nonprofit Table of Hope and our township has provided over 10,000 meals to thousands of Parsippany families throughout COVID-19. We first met with Table of Hope in 2019. Initially, the food distribution program was a vision to help a few dozen families per week. That need ballooned to hundreds of families per week as COVID-19 ravaged the physical, mental, and economic health of our region. Since March of 2020, Parsippany residents out of work or otherwise in need have had weekly access to high-quality, nutritious groceries through this program. In addition, the Parsippany Food Pantry has expanded its ability to help Parsippany residents due to the incredible volume of donations that you have made. Our work on this front is not over. We will continue to provide for those in need until both the health and economic consequences of this pandemic have ended. I want to take a moment to reflect on the nearly 100 lives lost in Parsippany to COVID-19. To the families who have lost a loved one, my heart aches for you. Those you care about and loved are not just a statistic. They were family, friends, and people who deserve to live longer than this disease allowed. I feel your pain. Please know that every action I've taken, just about every thought I've had over the past 10 months, has been about how to keep people from contracting this virus and how to keep our loved ones with us. Unfortunately, I've heard some dismiss those we've lost, those 1 in every 1,000 Americans, as acceptable losses due to their age or other health factors. Let me be clear. There has not been a single acceptable loss of life from this pandemic. Those who have passed will not be dismissed as old or sick. They were people with hopes, dreams, ambitions, families, husbands, wives, children, and parents. These people were nurses, teachers, drivers, business owners, crossing guards, veterans, and every race, creed, and class on God's green earth. And they were loved. No single event in the history of our community has cost as much life as COVID-19. We will remember them, honor them, and love them forever. As we turn the page from 2020 to 2021, we are finally able to see the light at the end of the tunnel. Over the next several months, we will work with our partners in county, state, and federal government to facilitate fast and easy access to the COVID-19 vaccine for Parsippany residents. Just 1 year ago, this virus was unknown to science. In less than a year, the efforts of our best and brightest scientific minds has given us hope. This pandemic has changed all of our lives. It has ravaged our physical and fiscal health, but it has also brought out the best in us. It has shown us the strength we have when we work together, and soon it'll finally be over. On the subject of communications, my administration has worked to make township officials more accessible to the people they serve, as well as to make Town Hall more accessible to the people of Parsippany. That's why I introduced our Mayor's Town Hall series, beginning our administration and department heads to Parsippany's neighborhoods. Over the past 3 years, we've held over a dozen town hall meetings from Lake Hiawatha to Powder Mill and addressed hundreds of residents' issues that may not have otherwise come to our attention. What's crucial is that these are not solely my events. Key department heads such as the police chief, chief financial officer, and Department of Public Works Director are in attendance to hear concerns directly from the people. In incorporating these events several times each year, we are working to ensure that Town Hall is not a bureaucratic bunker removed and unconcerned with the issues you face. From major debates over land use to clogged sewer drains and speeding on our residential streets, we handle every issue with the care and attention it deserves. I look forward to many more productive town hall meetings with our residents as we come out of the COVID-19 pandemic, and I hope that everyone of every viewpoint can come out to express their concerns. Protecting our township's environment has been a priority for my administration. My pledge as a first-time candidate for office was simple. As long as I'm mayor of Parsippany, the township will never allow a tract of public green space to be developed. I've kept that promise, and nothing resembling the Waterview development has been approved since. Instead of selling off open space, I've sought to acquire more of it. a $659,000 grant from Morris County puts the township in a strong position to acquire the Cozit Tract, which will complete a 30-acre expanse of open space along Knoll Road. To be clear, open space acquisition doesn't just look nice, it is an active way to prevent overdevelopment. Several years ago, the township had the opportunity to acquire a tract of land behind St. Christopher's Church along Route 202. Today, there is a proposal in front of the zoning board to develop multi-unit housing on this forested tract. Had the township acquired the property when it had the chance, this proposal never would have seen the light of day. Parsippany is also home to the Bouton Reservoir, a property of pristine open space just waiting to be explored by our residents. Starting in my first year in office, my administration worked with the nonprofit Open Space Institute to successfully persuade the reservoir's owner, Jersey City, to open the property for passive recreation. The ongoing Bhutan Reservoir project was an exercise in bringing people together to achieve positive results for Parsippany's residents. We spent numerous evenings at Jersey City's council meetings working through the concerns of the governing body and explaining our township's commitment to preserving open space and our environment. Initially expected to fail, the project was approved by the Jersey City Council by a vote of 8-1 and signed by Jersey City's mayor. Once completed at zero expense to you, the nonprofit-funded Bouton Reservoir project will boast a trail system ranking among the best in New Jersey. In addition to providing an unprecedented recreational opportunity for Parsippany residents, the project will draw visitors from across our region to eat at our Parsippany restaurants and shop at our township's small businesses. Parsippany has long been recognized for its pristine environment, including over 40 years of recognition as a tree city. In 2019, I appointed a green team to explore sustainability and environmental protection in Parsippany. Their mandate goes far beyond beautification. This volunteer team of township residents is composed of experts in the field, ranging from engineers to green business professionals. Their efforts have already begun reducing the township's carbon footprint and have already saved taxpayers thousands on municipal energy costs. My administration has also worked with the township's Environmental Advisory Committee on banning the retail use of single-use plastic bags. This legislation, passed in 2019, has been a model for other communities in Morris County, as well as a statewide plastic bag ban legislation signed into law in late 2020. We also recognize as a township the impact of the ban on small businesses during the pandemic and temporarily halting enforcement on those businesses unable to afford the switch to alternatives during the difficult economic times. Finally, our administration re-entered Parsippany into the Highlands Council, a public agency that works in partnership with local governments in the Highlands region. We're working towards protecting and enhancing our natural resources. Highlands membership also opens up funding opportunities that Parsippany did not previously have access to. I've always believed that it was a mistake to withdraw from the Highlands Council several years ago, which is why my administration has worked from day one to achieve Highlands Act conformance. The acceptance of our petition last month was a recognition of our administration's work towards water quality protection, sustainable land use, and environmental defense. Parsippany is the largest town by population in the Highlands region, and it's important that this community lead by example. I have confidence that our work will be a model for those towns in our region that have yet to pursue Highlands membership. Another promise fulfilled this past year was the adoption of our township's new 2020 master plan. Parsippany's last master plan, the guiding document for our future of township land use, dated from 1976. The nearly 50-year-old plan was widely recognized as too outdated to be useful in the 21st century, which is why I made a campaign promise to commission a new, modern master plan. As with so many items, this is something we began to work on as soon as I took office, and was ultimately approved in January of 2020. This followed 2 open public meetings, a town-wide survey, and input from businesses and civic leaders throughout our community. Now, North Beverwyck Road served as my introduction to Parsippany, and its revitalization has been at the front of my mind long before I considered running for office. Our township's main downtown hub needs help. When funds for revitalization were cut from my budget in 2019, my administration began seeking out grant funding to put towards Parsippany's small business hub. These efforts culminated in late 2020, when $4 million in grant funding was awarded by the state and county for various projects in the area. These include a new state-of-the-art Lake Hiawatha Library, streetscaping improvements for North Beverwyck Road, and acquisition funds for attractive open space along Knoll Road. Along with the Bouton Reservoir project, these plans are the first steps towards making North Beverwyck Road and Lake Hiawatha regional destinations for commerce and recreation. On the issue of development, the township's options for fighting development of private property are limited. Despite that fact, my administration has always put Parsippany first in negotiations with developers. My first principle has been avoiding the mistakes of the past. Under this administration, there has not been 1 square foot of public space in Parsippany sold to developers. Developers' agreements under my administration typically include requirements for significant public infrastructure investments by the developer. Those developers who were used to personal favors and political control of Parsippany's officials have been frustrated by my hardline stance in favor of Parsippany residents. But putting your needs first is the type of representation you deserve. I'm a firm believer that the state of New Jersey must step in and end the rampant overdevelopment impacting every town in New Jersey. Until the legislator steps up to either empower municipalities with more control over our own zoning or legislate to end the adverse impact overdevelopment has on our quality of life, I will continue to do everything in my power to mitigate the impact of overpowered developers. One of the main reasons I ran for mayor was to fix the mess that is our township's budget. The municipal budget is perhaps the most important piece of the government puzzle. It's more than a list of dollar amounts. It is a reflection of where our priorities are as a community. It's a plan for the unknowable events of the future, from a global pandemic to the health of our larger economy. Most importantly, it's a measure of affordability for our township's residents, a measure of whether or not our seniors can stay in their homes, of whether or not a young family can buy their first home. Some have tried to tag me with the term tax and spend Democrat. The fact is that I've done everything in my power to keep our taxes low while maintaining the level of services our residents have come to expect. Every budget I've signed has been passed unanimously by a bipartisan council because we have come to recognize that this township had been mismanaged for far too long. You cannot spend away without planning how to pay for it. That mentality permeated this government for years. No more. That is not the way to run a business, it's not the way to run a household, and it's certainly not the way to run a township. Correcting the compounded problems of the past is not easy or quick, but we are making progress collaboratively. Parsippany's fiscal issues can largely be traced back to 2 practices. First, we had the imposition of election year 0% tax increases, which continue to compound every year. If property taxes are only frozen in the same year as mayoral elections, something is terribly wrong. That's exactly what happened in 2013 and 2017, without equivalent cuts to spending or a hint of long-term planning. A hole was blown in our budget that has taken years to address. It may feel good to have flat taxes once every 4 years. It feels worse to have your increase multiplied several times over when the bill inevitably comes due. You've paid dearly for the ambitions of politicians. Under this administration, that time has ended. The second issue we faced for years under one-party rule was endless and irresponsible borrowing from our water and sewer utility funds to give the artificial appearance of lower taxes. At its peak, over $3 million was borrowed per year from the utilities in order to balance the township budget. Here's the bad news. Whether it comes from your property tax bill or from your water and sewer bills, it's still money out of your pocket. At the rate of the township was previously borrowing, our water and sewer utilities would have gone bankrupt by the year 2024. Robbing Peter to pay Paul is not a stroke of fiscal genius. It's a political gimmick used for election campaign purposes. And Parsippany, you've paid for it. Over the 3 years of my administration, Parsippany has attracted over $50 million in new ratables. New commercial ratables don't just provide jobs and amenities for our residents, they reduce your share of property taxes. Our economic growth is fueled by the clear strengths the business community sees in Parsippany. Unparalleled highway transportation, a diverse and experienced workforce, and a thriving small business community. The new businesses we continue to attract every year play a key role in the moderating of our property taxes. Under my administration, your tax bill is no longer abused in order to score political points. The days of budget gimmicks in Parsippany are over, and the days of fiscal strength are just beginning. I've also spent my term working with our Parsippany Police Department to enhance our emergency response capabilities, build the bonds of trust between the police department and the Parsippany community, and pursue official statewide police accreditation. Our new state-of-the-art communication system will provide all our emergency services with stronger and wider-ranging frequencies, eliminating the problematic dead spots we've experienced in different areas of town, especially the ones we had back in 2011 during Hurricane Irene. This project went live on Monday. Now every emergency responder at every level has access to clear, unabridged communication with dispatchers and fellow responders. The creation of the Police Department Communications section under a single command will ensure operational consistency and unified support for this new system. In calibrating the communications system to all incoming federal mandates, Parsippany will become a leader in emergency communication services throughout our region. This will expand our ability to provide shared services to neighboring towns, earning revenue to offset the residential tax burden. We've also begun the rollout of our police department's body camera system. The facts on this policy are clear. Police body cameras keep everyone safe. That's why they're supported by both citizen advocates and police unions alike. Citizens are protected from the abuses of police authority, while officers are protected from false claims of abuse. We began implementing a body camera program before it became state law in New Jersey. Our force has been partially outfitted for the better part of 2020, while our police information technology team put the infrastructure in place to protect body cam data. A full rollout to all Parsippany officers is scheduled for Q2 of this year. Finally, our police department has been working towards receiving accreditation from the New Jersey State Association of Chiefs of Police. The benefits of accreditation are plentiful. Stronger defense against frivolous lawsuits, greater accountability within the department, increased support from our state government, increased community advocacy, and statewide recognition for excellence. In pursuing accreditation, we have worked towards strengthening crime prevention and control capabilities, formalizing management procedures, and establishing fair and non-discriminatory practices for personnel, improving the delivery of services to the community, solidifying interagency cooperation and coordination, and boosting citizen and staff confidence in the Parsippany Police Department. We anticipate the accreditation process to be completed this summer. Best of all, the full cost of the process has been paid for with federal forfeiture funds with zero cost borne by Parsippany taxpayers. Now, as mayor, my job is not only to oversee township operations, but also to advocate for our community. This has particularly been the case with utility companies, who I have made a point to hold accountable in Parsippany. While my administration attempts to work with everyone in a collaborative fashion, I have not been afraid to call these companies out on their failures. In particular, I have publicly stressed the need for improved electrical service from JCP&L to our region. As an electrician by trade, I fundamentally understand the steps needed to prevent the frequent power outages we and our surrounding communities have been experiencing. In August of 2020, I led a coalition of elected officials in calling our direct reimbursement to those who lose perishable goods due to power outages and extensive infrastructure improvements to prevent future outages. Now, I've also called on internet providers to provide service delivery to Parsippany's customers. As a major economic hub to the New York metropolitan area, there is no reason that any neighborhood in Parsippany should be without the options of high-speed broadband internet services. My own home is without access to this infrastructure, which has become fundamental for every household in the wake of the COVID-19 pandemic. New Jersey is home to several layers of government and the red tape that comes with them. My administration has established productive relationships with elected and appointed officials at every level, working to overcome obstacles and get things done for you. This has resulted in millions of dollars in grant funding to pay for projects that benefit you without adding to your municipal tax bill. These include funding for road repairs, open space acquisition, new and enhanced municipal facilities, and emergency equipment, to name just a few. I've also worked with other layers of government to improve Parsippany's based infrastructure outside of the township's control. This includes the repaving of intersections such as Route 46 and New Road, and Route 46 and Waterview Boulevard. It also includes work to improve the Postal Service and broaden flood mitigation practices within our federal delegation. As a longtime Parsippany resident, I was well aware of the waste within Parsippany's government prior to running for office. Since becoming mayor, I have slashed wasteful spending from legal fees to the budget of my own office. Excessive legal bills have been a contentious issue for years in Parsippany. My first budget proposal cut legal spending in the township, which has remained flat since that initial action, putting Parsippany more in line with townships of a similar size in our region. My own office hasn't been spared from the red pen. Total salaries and benefits for the mayor's office are less today than they were in the final year of the prior administration, while operating expenses have been cut by over 20%. Working collaboratively with department heads, most departments have reduced their operating budgets over the course of this administration. One of Parsippany's greatest strengths is our diversity. Significant numbers of our population have origins on 5 different continents, and celebrating that heritage is of vital importance to all of us, remembering both where we came from and our unique American value system of openness and integration. It is with those values in mind that we began the annual Indian flag raising for Indian Independence Day every August. Our township is home to one of the most thriving South Asian communities in the United States, and welcoming guests from our state legislature, local temples, and the international community to celebrate this occasion has been a distinct honor. Our Indian community is entrepreneurial, hardworking, deeply valuing of education and prosperity, and has immense respect for both the unique and diverse traditions of India and those of the United States. We also introduce our township's annual Italian Food and Culture Festival. Our Italian-American community is the bedrock of our township's social fiber, touching all aspects of our lives, and celebrating that heritage has been another milestone for Parsippany's cultural tradition. The more experiences we have together, the deeper the bonds of understanding between all of our cultures will become. I look forward to continued work with the entire spectrum of Parsippany's residents as we emerge from this pandemic and truly begin the 2020s. I am hopeful for the transformative possibilities presented by this new decade. Generations of residents have lived, worked, celebrated, mourned, triumphed, faltered, dreamed, and reflected here in Parsippany. The same will be true of generations here today and those unborn. As we plan for those future generations, for those thousands of people yet to come, we must consider the longer arc of our community's future. We can plan for tomorrow, but that won't be enough. We can plan for next year, but that still won't be enough. We can plan for this decade, but that won't be enough. This township will stand for generations to come, and those generations need and deserve our attention today. The long choice, the choice to invest, the choice to make hard decisions today in anticipation of a better tomorrow is rarely easy. But I would argue that the short choice, the choice to think only of now, the choice to make easy decisions today without a care for tomorrow is where leadership truly falters. Running for office was never part of my life plan. My life does not revolve around election ballots or government buildings. I'm here to build a brighter future, a brighter path for Parsippany's future. I hope you see that, but my hope is even stronger than 10, 20, or even 50 years from now. Those labors will leave you, your children, and your grandchildren better off than before. In closing, I'd like to discuss this township of ours and what it means to me. Parsippany is more than just 25 square miles on a map. We're the sum of all of our people. Parsippany is 55,000 hopes. It is 55,000 dreams. It's 55,000 ambitions and 55,000 hardships. It's 55,000 successes and 55,000 challenges. Parsippany is 55,000 people making our way through life, doing the best we can. 55,000 people working hard to build a life, to raise successful children, to care for our loved ones. 55,000 people living out our own American dreams with all of the adversities and all the triumphs that come with it. That, at the end of the day, is what this township is. And that, more than any governmental accomplishment or goal, is why I could not be prouder to be your mayor. Thank you. God bless you, and good night.